Hi, and welcome to the Serial Killers podcast. It's a podcast all about the pests, diseases and problems that affect arable crops. Each week we're going to do a deep dive into one of those particular problems. Hi Josie.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. So today's serial killer is Alternaria, or farmers may know it more as sooty mould or black point. And so what's black point?
Black point. Black point is called black point because it can leave a black stain on the grain at the top where the point is.
Yeah, so it's a fungal disease, and sooty mould that's what when we're referring to the whole panicle all on the plant, it's sooty mould, and when it gets into the actual seed when it's harvested, it's black point. It's caused by the fungus Alternaria, which is what's termed an imperfect fungus because it's actually never been found in its sexual form. It's always asexual, even though it has sexual genes, which is unusual for a fungus. There's only 299 species, and these are what are termed saprophytic or necrophytic. They kill the cells of the plant and then eat their contents out. So very different to rust, which is more like a parasite that lives off living tissue.
Yeah.
Or mildew's exactly the same. They're biotrophic. This is a necrotrophic or saprotrophic. Just kills it, injects it with a toxin called an AB toxin, and then eats it.
Yep, doesn't require a living host material, this one.
No, it can just feed off dead, decaying plant matter.
It gets its nutrients from the dead, decaying tissues.
Yep, so if you've got stubble, it'll be on the stubble.
Yeah, it overwinters on the crop debris and vegetation.
Did you know it can also be a human pathogen?
Yes, rather scarily, and it can cause really quite nasty side effects. Yeah.
Thankfully, it's normally only in people who are immunocompromised.
That's right.
So if you're taking drugs for AIDS or you've cancer
That's
drugs,
right.
best not to be around a lot of spores of Alternaria.
It can cause breathing difficulties, particularly around the nose area, ear, nose, throat, all that area.
Yeah. Also, what's termed in the industry farmer's lung. That's a lot of fungal spores can cause that. It's very debilitating.
And skin problems as well.
Yeah. So we said it can be it can actually infect your blood and become a human pathogen. And thankfully, plant pathogens normally stay as plant pathogens. However, there was an unrelated disease called silverleaf disease in roses. And this year, a person in India got infected with this disease from roses. And it's the first ever case.
Really?
And it should never have happened. They don't know why it happened. And he wasn't immunocompromised. And that's why it's so worrying, is that this man suddenly got this disease from roses. And it was a fungus that normally, it's an agaric fungus, so, lives off trees and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's also worrying, and it made a lot of press because it was basically the same story at the same time as Sky released a drama called The Last of Us. Have you ever heard of The Last of Us? It's about how fungi, if the temperatures rise, could start to infect human brains. Right.
Oh, right. Okay. Netflix by any chance? No?
No, just Sky at the moment. The Last of Us. So it's a really popular sort of sci-fi program. And so plant pathogens infecting humans is a hot topic at the moment. And Alternaria is one it's the most common one. If it's going to infect a human, that's the one. So make sure you don't get Alternaria.
No.
It produces club-shaped spores. So if you go into Wikipedia and you look at Alternaria, you'll see these club-shaped spores. They're producing something called a conidia, and they can travel a fair amount of distance, but they are quite big for a spore. But they do need. That's what lands on the plant, and they can get in through the stomata. They can get in through the leaf surface. They don't need a particular point of entry.
But it also they can infect the plant by mycelium.
Yeah, so the mycelium, which is like a group of strands, just grow into the plant and kill. Obviously, they're killing cell after cell with these toxins. So it's really unusual, really interesting as well. And their life cycle is really fast. So symptoms can appear after 48 hours of the spore arriving, and they can complete their entire life cycle they can go back to spores in 72 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So this is really fast. So obviously that's going to need warm conditions and a susceptible host. So that's going to be an issue. So in fresh produce, it's a big issue because it causes this sooty mould. And so in fresh produce, like, cucumbers, courgettes, wastage could be 20% with Alternaria.
Yeah, you don't really want to be eating that if it's been affected.
No. Whereas in cereals, it's unusual because it's a disease that's not affecting yield. It won't affect yield in any significant way, but it will affect crop quality because obviously you've got these black points on your seed.
Well, it'll affect your milling quality of those crops and
Yeah.
also the colour of your flour. That will be affected.
Nobody wants grey
No.
flour.
No.
And they're going to think it's diseased with something else, or could be, they might mistake it for something that's been infected with ergot and stuff like that. So you definitely don't want that. So yield's not affected. It's going to be an issue for wheat crops that have been harvested late. So this is going to be for 2023. This is going to be a particular issue because we had a very dry June, and now July and early August has been very wet. If these wet conditions continue,
It's quite a slow year as well for growing, isn't it?
So slow year, very wet conditions just before harvest, delayed harvest. You're going to get sooty mould, and that's a problem because it's so close to harvest. You can't just apply a fungicide, or you can't apply a conventional fungicide anyway, because a lot of these require 30 days before pre-harvest interval. Yeah. And so obviously you're not going to get. We're now way closer than 30 days to harvest, so that's not an option. What is an option if you think you're going to get sooty mould is chitosan, which is a biofungicide with a pre-harvest interval of 0 days. So here at Utrema, we started the introduction of chitosan fungicides. We have the best chitosan biofungicide on the market, the most concentrated, stable form. So if you were looking to apply a fungicide just before harvest, then that's the one to choose. It's very effective, and that pre-harvest interval for chitosan is really useful because it's things like pick your own strawberries, where you can't apply a fungicide and then wait 30 days because things like grey mould are just going to appear, and you just need to be able to control them. So that's where we're seeing a lot of interest. And in fact, Alternaria is one of those diseases where there's a lot of organic products approved. So you can use chitosan, as we talked about before. There's also nettle extract that you can use. So you can either buy that in, or you can make it yourself. And horsetail extract can be used on Alternaria. But at the moment, it's only authorised for tomatoes.
All right.
So normally when we do these podcasts, I say, what's the organic control method, Josie? And we go, I haven't got one. And
I haven't got one.
Yeah,
either.
exactly. There are a few options. So if you are looking for organic control methods, then come and speak to us at Utrema.
Well, I suppose with anything fungal is like lots of nice air spaces, not too planted too crowded, so that you allow that air.
Yeah, often we talk about planting densities and outcompeting weeds by increasing the planting density, and often we're talking about increasing the planting density all the time, but then that disadvantages, you're going to get increased humidity.
That's right.
And fungal diseases. So there is a trade-off there, not just with seed costs, with also disease. There are antagonistic fungi that will outcompete the fungus on the surface of the plant, but none of them have been used effectively against Alternaria really in the commercial setting. There is an Alternaria that affects brassicas. It's mainly tropical, but has been found in Poland, and very humid conditions. It can pop up on brassicas, so that's something to look out for. It could cause a spoilage. And I think it's one of those ones that's probably on crops, but you don't know it's there. Same with like powdery mildew. It's really going to take heavy, humid conditions and letting that crop go for a bit too long that's going to see it become visible.
Yeah, that's the kind of conditions that all fungal disease is like, isn't it?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of a fungal disease that likes dry, conditions. So, yeah.
So, talking about dried, you need to ensure that your grain is dried properly before you put it in your grain stores.
Yeah.
If it's not dried properly, then you will find that any infected grains will cause hot spots.
Brilliant. So that's a disease that, unlike the rusts, which just will Won't once the crop's harvested, that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's saprotrophic. It doesn't care that you've harvested your crop. It's just going to carry on if you give it the conditions to grow.
Yeah. So you really want to avoid those hot spots in your stores.
Yeah, and then you're going to get nasty things living off the fungus as well.
That's right.
So it's a slippery slope. You're going to get all sorts of bugs.
So make sure it's dried properly.
Brilliant. Cool. Any other top facts about Alternaria?
No, it's just very nasty, and just don't catch it.
Don't catch it if
No.
you're a plant or if you're a human being.
Either.
Yeah, brilliant. All right. Thanks very much, Josie.
Thank you.